Hi everyone. Tonight we will be learning the lesson for Module 1, Lesson 6. And we're going to be comparing decimal fractions to the thousands place. We'll be using place value to make the comparison. And we'll be expressing the comparisons with the less than, greater than, and equal to signs. Now, I'm very excited because this is our first flipped math lesson. And there's a few things I want you to be aware of. This lesson will probably be 10 minutes long or less. That doesn't mean that you should race through it as fast as you can. Please listen carefully. Get some scratch paper to have handy because you're going to need it to answer some of the problems. And if there's anything you don't understand, you can back the video up and listen to it again, so that by the time you take the quiz on Edpuzzle, you should have a fairly good idea of what you're doing and you can get the best possible answer. Okay, let's go. We are first of all going to compare 13,196 to 13,296. Now this should be a fairly easy one and a review of 4th grade. So the first thing I'd like you to do is just write the digits for both numbers into a place value chart. I have already created a place value chart that's got 10 thousandths through the ones because that's what I'm going to need for these two numbers. And when I look at the numbers, I see that 13,000, the highest number, is in the 10 thousandths place. I've got a 1 in the 10 thousandths, a 3 in the 1 thousandths, a 1 in the hundreds place, a 9 in the tens place, and a 6 in the ones place. Now I'm going to move over to my second number, and I see, once again, I have a 1 in the 10 thousandths place, a 3 in the thousands place, a 2 in the hundreds place, a 9 in the tens place, and a 6 in the ones place. Now I'm going to take a look at both of these numbers, and I'm going to start over here in the column on the left because that's where the greatest numbers are. It doesn't really matter if the numbers in the smaller places are different unless the numbers in the greater places are the same. So I want to check and see where they're the same and where they're different, and I'm going to start at the left side of my place value chart because that's where the greatest numbers are. And I see that in the tens thousandths place, both numbers have a 1 in the 10 thousandths place, so they're the same there. In the 100 thousandths place, they both have a 3, so they're the same there. And here in the hundreds place is where they are different. So I see that 13,196 has a 1 in the hundreds place, while 13,296 has a 2. That means that since there's a 1 in the hundreds place, this is going to be a smaller number. So I would write it like 13,196, and remember the arrow points at the smaller number, so 13,196 is less than 13,296. Now we're going to compare 35 hundredths to 36 thousandths. Now this can be a tricky one because at first glance it seems like 36 would be larger than 35. But if you pay attention to the place value, then we realize that that is not the case. So I'm going to write both numbers into a place value chart, and we can see that even though it sounds smaller, 35 hundredths is actually larger than 36 thousandths. So when I write 35 hundredths, I can see that my decimal is in between the 1 and the tenths, and just to the right of the decimal I have a 3. That's in the tenths place, and then in the hundredths place I have a 5, and that's 35 hundredths. Now another way of writing this and making it easy to compare would be to put a 0 in the thousandths place, and now I have 350 thousandths. Let's go over to the second number, 36 thousandths. I'm going to start at the decimal again. I have a 0 in the tenths place. I have a 3 in the hundredths place and a 6 in the thousandths place. So when I look at my place value chart, and I'm going to start at the greatest place, which is the tenths place for these two numbers. I should have put the zeros here. Both of them have zeros in the ones place, so I don't really need to look at that. But I see that 35 hundredths, it's got a 3 in the tenths place, while the 36 thousandths has a 0. So right off the bat, I know that 35 hundredths is larger. Now another way of looking at this is thinking about 35 hundredths in thousandths instead of hundredths, and 35 hundredths is the same as 350 thousandths, which of course is going to be more than only 36 thousandths. 350 thousandths will be many, many more than 36 thousandths. So I'm going to write it 35 hundredths is greater than 36 thousandths. Now it's your turn to try it. This one you're going to do on your own. You're going to compare 12 thousandths to 2 thousandths. Most of you can just listen to it and decide which is better, which is greater, and which is least. If you should have a piece of scratch paper to make a place value chart on, and put each digit in the correct chart, and then choose the answer that you think is correct on Edpuzzle. Now we're going to compare 299 thousandths and 3 tenths. Well, you see here, these are not decimal fractions. They're written as standard fractions. But to compare them, it would actually be a lot easier to write them as decimal fractions. So I'm going to put them into a place value chart. I am going to need ones, tenths, hundredths, and thousandths. And this first number, 299 thousandths, that means that this number is going to be in the thousandths place. So 299 thousandths will be written as 0.299. And our next number is 3 tenths. This 3 is going to go in the tenths place, and that's the only digit I have. And I could fill in the zeros here just to make it a little easier to compare. And now I can see that 3 tenths is the same as 300 thousandths. It's just a teeny tiny bit more, 1/1000th more than 299 thousandths. So I am going to write my equation, or my comparison actually. 299 thousandths is less than 3 tenths, because 3 tenths looks the same as 300 thousandths. Okay, now you get a chance to compare fractions, and you are going to turn them into decimal fractions and put them in a place value chart before deciding which is greater, 705 thousandths or 7 tenths. And then choose the correct answer on Edpuzzle. Okay, now we're going to work on sequencing. And sequence means to put in order. In this particular instance, we're going to put them in order from least to greatest. And that is usually the most common way to order things, but you really need to pay careful attention to directions because sometimes you will be asked to put things in order from greatest to least. This time we are definitely going to put them in order from least to greatest. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at the ones place for every number. And I'm going to make my pen a little bit smaller because it's too thick right now. So here we go. I'm looking at the ones place for each one of these numbers, and I see that the ones place has a 0 every time. So I will put a 0 in because those are all the same. Now I'm going to take a look at the tens place, and I have a 4, a 0, a 1, and a 5. Well, obviously 0 is the smallest, so I'm going to put the number with the 0 in the tens place at the top. And then after 0 comes 1 right here. So the number with the 1 in the tens place will come next. And then 4. So the number with the 4 in the tens place will be next. And the largest number, of course, is the one with a 5 in the tens place. Okay, so 56 thousandths is the smallest number. 164 thousandths comes next. 413 thousandths is after that, and then the greatest will be 513 thousandths. Okay, it's your turn. We have a new sequence, 27 and 5 thousandths, 29 and 4 hundredths, 27 and 19 thousandths, and last of all, 29 and 5 tenths. Please make a place value chart or use the one that I sent home with you. Write the numbers down so that every digit is in the correct place, and then choose the correct sequence from Edpuzzle. Good luck. I'll see you tomorrow.